This is the 51st Earth Day. How many know what Earth Day is about? A little bit. All right, well, it really comes out of environmental movement, but recognizing back in the 60s, just, leaded gasoline, you name it, all the things that we were doing that was really hurting the Earth. And so folks came together and created this official Earth Day movement, with 1970 being the first year. And there were lots of different community events. I was not at any of those events in 1970. I was a little young for that, but Earth Day for me became really hit home when I was working in Baltimore. And we had basically the first urban Earth Day, and this is 1995. So it was really focusing on the urban communities, and really where we see communities that are adversely affected by pollution, by industry, by just a lack of, I think, caring for the community. And so folks in Baltimore and across the country created the first urban Earth Day. And so this is the 26th, did I get that right? Yeah, 26th anniversary of urban Earth Day. We're here, I would say, kind of in a quasi-urban, suburban community in Aurora here, but to really acknowledge the great work that's been done by Aaron Martinez, John Bissell, the asset team, who came together to basically take the core campus that Americorps, key partner here, is benefiting from, and taking this to a net zero electric and truly a really sustainable campus. And so I won't go into the details, that's really for the role, but I want to thank all of you, our folks from Americorps, thank you guys for being here. Family Tree, thank you guys for being here, really appreciate that. And other folks, if I'm missing you, I'm sorry, but I really appreciate you taking the time for the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. Mr. Martinez.
So Aaron, number 2 here.
But number 1 in our hearts.
So first off, everybody make sure you grab a burrito, grab some coffee. These are carbon neutral burritos over here.
Where?
We really went the extra mile on this. Don't record that part.
Too late.
So like Aaron was saying, Earth Day 51 years ago, and I remember all the old sort of environmental stuff. You remember the Earth Day was really actually one of the key slogans when they started was about litter bugs, right? About people littering. And you remember the Native American, the indigenous person with the who actually was played by an Italian actor. It wasn't even an indigenous person, which is a whole other thing. But I don't know about you, or for me, it is unconscionable to imagine throwing a bag of fast food trash out the window now, right? So I feel like most people have caught that, caught on to that. I mean, we're not perfect as a society at it yet, but littering was the start. Then there was a lot of talk about pesticides, and especially farm workers and pesticides. Now, after 51 years of further climate research and study, it's really about greenhouse gases. It's about how we're affecting the environment through our emissions, through our pollution. And I do have some notes here because I'm not as great as Aaron Mirapole at extemporaneous speaking, but our industry, our progress, our comfort, all of it has been really dependent on burning stuff, burning oil and coal and fuel and chemicals, and it's putting all these emissions into the atmosphere. That's really is our focus now, is reducing those. In fact, just this morning, the Biden administration announced some ambitious goals to cut our greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030. So less than a decade, cut emissions in half. And actually, there are a lot of local efforts that are even more aggressive than that. In our area, in the Denver metro area, and across Colorado, there's goals to cut all building emissions by 2040. And so it's just, we're right in the thick of it now. And the story I heard on the news this morning was about, is this enough to reverse climate change? And the truth is it's not. Even those ambitious goals are not enough to change it, but they're enough to slow it down. And so we need to keep on this momentum and this trajectory and this acceleration of what we're doing. And so I just wanted to give you guys, in honor of Earth Day, an idea of what we've done here on this campus. We've taken this campus that was built in '68, so that's 53 years old now. A 53-year-old campus, and we've taken a really bold attempt at cutting into those carbon emissions that this campus produces, because these buildings use energy to keep them warm and to keep them cool and to keep the showers hot and all of that stuff. So we took on a real ambitious project here, and we'll all go through, if you're interested, we'll do a short tour later of some of the technology. But the real obvious one is the solar array behind us. It's 440 kilowatt solar array, and underneath that, what you can't see is a geothermal field. It's 75 holes that are drilled 300 feet into the earth that have pipes running down and up through all those holes that then feed our mechanical system over here. So we're harvesting heat and cool from the earth to help heat and cool the building. I'll give you a few numbers here. Since September, this solar array has produced almost 100,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. Not just that much electricity, they've produced 100,000 watts more than what the building has needed to operate. So we're beyond net zero electric, okay, for what this system is producing. But the real thing, like I was talking about earlier in terms of greenhouse gases, we still use some natural gas here. We're still burning fossil fuels here for backup heat and for water heat and for things like that, just because of the nature of the building. But if we hadn't have done these upgrades, we would have been, since September, we would have been contributing about 500 metric tons of carbon, greenhouse gas equivalent. So 500 tons of carbon into the atmosphere. That's what we would have been polluting with. We've brought that down to 120. That's a 75% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, which again, for a campus that's this old and that's this spread out, is just a huge benefit. I was talking with somebody earlier about what's the payback? A lot of these times, especially commercial building owners, we're looking for payback. When is this going to save us enough money to pay for the improvements? And the truth is this is going to take a long time. This was over a $3.5 million project. It's going to take a long time for those savings to pay that back. But the real impact here is the greenhouse gas savings. And we're seeing that already. We're seeing a 75% reduction already, which is just fantastic. I just want to throw a couple other stats out at you just to put things in context. In the Denver metro area, of all the greenhouse gas emissions, about 50% of those, it's 49%, come from commercial and multifamily buildings. So that's where a lot of people live. It's where a lot of people work. 50% of the greenhouse gas emissions come from commercial and multifamily. And then another 30% come from transportation. So those are the two big targets. And projects like this here at Oxford Vista, we're trying to take a big cut at those big sources of greenhouse gas. So we've got a great start here. And just in honor of Earth Day, I want to give some inspiration of what you can do, what each of us can do. Get involved. There's lots of policy and legislation that's going through our local and state governments right now that are supporting aggressive greenhouse gas reduction emission goals. So support that stuff. When things come up on the ballot, read about it, learn about it, get information, and support those initiatives. A lot of the times those things come up on off-year elections, and so it's important to stay focused, stay tuned in on that stuff, and get out to vote. And then in our own lives, consider alternatives, local products that don't ship from overseas for free. I'm guilty as much as everybody of that free shipping, but making choices to buy stuff local. Electric vehicles at one point recently were just kind of out of the reach for most people. Those prices are coming down. More and more manufacturers are making them more accessible. We're going to see, this is my crystal ball, but I think it's really well informed. We're going to see an explosion of electric vehicle charging infrastructure in the next couple of years. They're going to be as common as gas stations. There's lots of money in recent stimulus bills to push these. It's happening now. So put that on a list of your considerations when you're buying a vehicle. Public transit. I know with COVID that's difficult, but public transit is a huge way to cut down on emissions. And then even in your own homes, when you're looking at appliances, I love to cook on a gas cooktop, but it's burning gas. And this is one stat that I heard recently that blew my mind and has changed my mind about gas cooking altogether. Kids in homes that grew up with a gas stove, 40% more likely to have asthma. Yeah, 40% more likely. We're burning a fossil fuel inside of our homes, and most people have a fan, but that fan is not getting everything out of the house. So induction cooking is a great new technology that heats up as fast as gas, it cools down as fast as gas. It's something to consider. That's what I'm looking at for my next stove. And then the last thing, just keep up with all the good work that we've been doing. Make sure you've got LED light bulbs in your house. Keep up with recycling. A lot of communities are making composting a lot more available. Eat less meat. Get an energy audit for your home and consider renewable energy. I think you'd be surprised how easy it is to get renewable energy to your home. And I'm not just talking about putting solar panels on your roof. Most people here probably have Excel Energy for their providers. There's programs where you can purchase wind energy or solar garden energy for your home. My house doesn't really work great for solar, but I was able to pay the same amount but get all of my electricity from a solar array that's out near the airport. So there's lots of options, and yeah, let's just use this day as a reminder to be seeking those out and to be reminded of those things. So that's all I had. Yeah. Do we have anything else? Angel, I'm going to look to you. Anything else?